Hey everybody, GeForce 41 here with another PGA Tour 2K25 video for you. It is the return of Quick Tips. Yes, the long-awaited return of Quick Tips. Well, maybe, I hope it's been long-awaited. I am so sorry I've been away for so long. I have not been doing my videos, and I'm happy to get back to them. This is Quick Tips. I don't know what number because I haven't done it in so long. I forget what number I was up to. Quick Tips is where I take a spin around a newer designer's course and give that newer designer some tips on course design. It could be strategy, technique, it could be anything, visuals, slopes of the green, and what have you. And where am I today? I am at ERASERGIB's new test course. It's ERASERGIB Test 1027, 25, something like that. And if you haven't joined us before, ERASERGIB is the person who does the hard work of putting all the tournaments out on Casuals Golf Club, the actual society in the game. I select the courses. Sets up the club online and arranges the courses every week. Three events a week at Casuals Golf Club. He does that hard work. He does a great job, and he's a newer designer. He's published a lot of kind of test courses, and I'm going to help him out here. His newer design is a links course. So usually if you're just joining us, Quick Tips, I do Quick Tips. It was quick because I used to do 6 holes for newer designers that reached out to me on the YouTube page, right? You put a comment in the video and I review your course. I do 6 holes, take about 20 minutes, Quick Tips, right? Maybe then I do 9. Well, I started doing 18 when ERASERGIB came around, and then Quick Tips became not so Quick Tips, and I've stopped doing them. So I'm going to try to go back to 6 holes for any of you who request it. If not 9, we'll try it. But we're going to give him some comments here. So let's see. It's the never-ending saga of ERASERGIB and his course design. We did 2 or 3 videos, at least 3, I think, in the last version of the game, PGA Tour 2K23. This is the first time we're venturing into PGA Tour 2K25. I would say at first glance these fairways are a little too slopey. Bumpy, lumpy is good on a links course, but you don't want to be too lumpy, bumpy. Kind of like your mashed potatoes, folks. That's going to be maybe the theme of the day, all right? You want some texture to it, but you don't want it too smooth. Green looks okay. So think your fairway splines, your sculpting your spline needs a little work. We'll see how the greens are running. All right, greens are going at 144, not a bad speed. You could go a little faster. I like 160, 170 for the default. People are hitting them up to 180, 200, a little much for me, but I do like it fast, but it would be a little much for Casuals Golf Club, that's for sure. All right, the grasses need some work. Don't forget you could use the tools available to you in Designer to change the color of the newer grasses to that more kind of dry it out beige, natural look, and you use that with the tools. There's the terrain painting, but there's a surface weathering. You would use the surface weathering to brush in that kind of lived in look, as I call it. You can control the percentage, how dense it is, how intense it is, from 100 down to 0. I go anywhere from 25 to 50 to 75. Sometimes if I want to make these grasses really poppy, I've even used 100. So consider that on these links courses. Just look at any of the links courses, even look at the official courses. These things on the side need to be sculpted. I know it's the perimeter of the course. It's a little hard to figure out what to do with the perimeter of the course. You might run out of meter to put trees around or whatever, but those don't look natural. So you got to smooth those out, make some natural looking hills, maybe put some trees on it or a tree line. All right. Strategery. We're going to talk strategery here. Look at this hole. What's the strategy here? You've got a hole that's got a high-low. You got a center line bunker and a high-low. Not a bad idea, but there's got to be a reason for it. So the high side has got to give you something to go on. Maybe it's the angle. I don't see a whole lot of reason here. It might be a better angle on some of these hole locations, but I don't quite see it. There's nothing great up around the green like a big bunker that I have to worry about. That would lead me to say I don't want to go down here. So given that huge gaping bunker there and the fact that this fairway goes this way and it's not very wide, I'm not going to take that option. the high option very often. So you got to tempt folks, if you're going to play with the strategy, to take that option. Maybe there is a whole location I don't know about that would look a little bit better from up there. Now you can say, all right, well, you can't see the hole from down here. Well, maybe that's it. I don't know. You can see the hole, you can't see the hole. So good concept, but I would think through the strategy a little bit. Again, be careful of blind shots. Make sure they're intentional. Okay. So a lot of sculpting here. I'm not sure if it's intentional or not. There needs to be a lot of work on the sculpting, it looks like, to start. Don't forget to fix your splines. Fix your splines going into the greens. We'll talk about that later. Greens look pretty normal, which is to be expected from a member of Casual Golf Society or Golf Club, because we do casual friendly courses. We don't want them too crazy challenging, especially around the greens. All right, this one looks like a little bit of a leave-in hole. A leave-in hole is a template hole, if you're not familiar with golf architecture, that has a hazard running diagonally through the fairway, so it's kind of a split fairway thing. But then it usually has a hill up by the green, and I'll show you what, I'll try to demonstrate what I mean after I hit the tee shot. This doesn't look like it's got that to it, and I would think this is a little much. This isn't too tempting. You know, I've got a big wind behind me, and given the downhill, this is about the only time you'd go for it. So I don't even know if I'm going to make it. So I just think that's a little much. It would probably play better from those white tees. Yeah, I mean, it's not going to reach. It will reach. It'll trickle on. But meh. Okay. So with the strong wind behind me, I barely made it. Yeah. So what you would have in a leave-in hole is like a big hill over here that hides the green a little intentionally, and has a hill that leads into the green. And if you stuck a pin back here, that's not a great angle to come at it from the left, right? So you'd want to come at it from the right. So you kind of play with the strategy that way. This is just very straight on. Again, there's nothing wrong with this green. It's okay. It's got a depression area. It comes down, looks a little natural. It's fine. I like the pop bunkering. I like the depth of these bunkers. It's not too much. The only problem I've noticed with these is if you get stuck here, you're in big trouble. So it's very hard to just open the club face up and whack them, which is realistic. I know that happens in real life. You have to go out sideways a lot of times. Get in there. All right, hole number 4. Be careful of your BTs, I call them, because you get these cut scenes. Whenever I'm, reviewing my own courses, meaning I'm testing them, I keep a notebook, and I put each hole down 1 through 18, right down on the margin, and right on the left side I put BT, and I check off how good that BT looks if it comes up. Now, obviously the cut scene doesn't come up on every hole, but you want that to look good because that really adds a little character to your course. There's a lot of character to your course. Oh, look at this. So we got a long 3. It's a 200-yard par 3, but first of all, we got a blind shot. You do not want a blind tee shot on a par 3. Are there blind shots in golf? Yes. Should they be? They need to be intentional, right? A lot of times it's on a longer 4, maybe a 5 on a tee shot where you're going up a hill and over the valley. Think of what is it? Pebble Beach 8, right? Something like that. So that's the kind of hole where you kind of have an uphill shot that you go up and around the fairway. Not almost never on a par 3. I shouldn't say never, but you don't often see it. You want that visual, right? You want to show off your work. You want to frame your shot. So I don't know if this is intentional or not. There's no reason for the hill there, but especially not when you have a Biarritz. So this is kind of what you call a Biarritz, folks. Again, if you're not into golf architecture, it's a template hole, which is usually a longer 3, which is the correct use of the Biarritz, with that kind of swale in the middle that divides the green in two. Now the point of the Biarritz in the old days is usually you would come at it straight like this. So I'd be coming from the tee box this way, not this way. And the goal was so you can see it. This is a very visual hole. And in the old days, you didn't hit the ball with as much spin or trajectory as these days. People would hit low balls and use the ground more. So you would see the ball, let me go over like this. You would see the ball roll down and up, right? So it would go down and disappear. Let me see if I can get that back. Sorry. And that was the whole point, right? That you could see from this, you can watch your ball disappear and then come back up and roll the hole. And it was kind of a fun, exciting hole. So that whole thing is gone because you're going at it sideways and you can't even see it. So that's it kind of defeats the purpose. But other than that, you've got the right idea. Now they're hard to pull off in this game because of this thing. It doesn't look great with the red and all that, but you can use them. I mean, I like them. I haven't done one in a long, long time. But they're fun, good holes. You will see them on CB McDonald type holes, type courses. Old school. Oh, look at this. Hey, yo. Okay, the Lido has a Biarritz, I think is the ninth hole. If you remember the Lido, it was the lost course that was recreated by, um, oh gosh, what is his handle? I forget what his handle is. I did a great video on that in 2K23, the Lido. And the Lido has been recreated in Nebraska. It was on Long Island, basically, and it was lost after the war. And it was this great CB McDonald, crazy, amazing course. All right. Oh, boy. I do not like this. I don't know what's going on here. Those bunkers look crazy. If you're going to have a center line bunker, you basically want it in the middle and you want room on either side, right, to make a decision. That's the whole point. It's strategery. There's no strategy here other than you don't want to go in this and you want to lay up short, but then you've also got the fairway running into this thing. And that just looks silly. So, this is a links course. Put a pot bunker or two in. I would say here just one. And again, you can't, well, you can see it from here. Um, the visual here, I just don't think is that great. There's not a whole lot of reason for this hill, other than if you really want it to caroom balls into that hazard, right? So I'm playing actually medium northeast because that's kind of my default when I don't have a suggestion for the wind. And now you got a crazy kind of slope shot there. Again, now let's talk about the splining. Okay, you want the spline to go into the green and look good and look kind of like it curves in there nice and smooth. That's a little better over here. This is crazy. You don't want this. So you don't want it coming in like a right angle or any sort of kind of straight angle like that. You want it to blend in and curve. You can do that by playing with the spline points. And for those of you who are not familiar with the designer, my apologies. But if you know what I'm talking about and you use the designer and use the spline tool, you can use the spline points. You can move the handles. But the old-fashioned way to do it that still never fails is basically you pick the first 3 points along the side of the green that you're entering. In other words, let me back step a little. The first 3 green spline points, not the fairway spline points. You take the first 3 green spline points on the side you're trying to match up with, and you would mark them with the circle. Just use the distance tool as a marker. You just put the distance marker. I'm sorry, the measuring tool right here and go click, click, 1, 2. It puts a little circle down. Let's pretend the green spline point is there. Now let's pretend the next one's there. Click, click, right? And then you would go, and I don't quite have room for the third. You'd go up and find the third one. Click, click, and then what you do is take the spline and match up the spline points. So match up a spline point here, here, and then the third one up there, and then hit the sharpen smooth tool and smooth it, and then go. I can't do it because I don't have enough room. But you run the spline. The spline runs around somewhere, but run it around the green and then make it kind of fit in nice and smooth. Okay, that makes it look well done, thoughtful. Looks like you spent time on your course. It makes it look real, and I would say professional, so to speak. Like a professional has made your course, meaning like a real course. Okay, but the spline is going into the fairway spline going into the green at those silly angles just looks really kind of newbie. Anybody's been around this game for a while. Does that have to be perfect? No. Sometimes the shape of the green and the way the fairway's hitting it doesn't look all that great, but you can get it close. You just have to make an effort. Look, I forget sometimes too. But make a conscious effort to every green, see where that spline is entering the green and make it look nice. Again, look at the best designers and how they do it. Look at just look at a Matt F course. Any Matt F course. He's meticulous with this stuff. All right. I kind of like this idea. I like when you have a split kind of decision with something like this, but I don't know, again, there's much decision here because this is very narrow and not flat. It's going to bounce your ball into the stuff this way. You know, I don't know what you're getting out of it. The other thing is this is a very short hole, so I don't know really why, you know, do you need to hit driver? Why do I want to be down there? Again, spline, I would flatten this out. That hill up there doesn't look quite that natural. You know, make the end of this, excuse me, the end of this fairway a little bit more kind of smooth. There's just not a whole lot of reason. I don't even want to hit driver anyway because I don't want that short of a shot. Again, I just don't know that there's a ton of reason to go off to the left. Could, again, some of these shots have a better angle? Maybe. Like maybe if there's a hole up here, you might want to be on the left. I don't know. Or would that be easier from the right? But that's what you kind of make the person think. You can make the person think, the golfer think, with more contours on the green as well. Okay? So really think through your strategery. The course I'm working on now is very strategic. It's CB McDonald inspired course. Okay, another par 3. Now this could be a pretty hole. Now again, show off your work. You can't see the hole again. So that's the second par 3 where you can't see the darn hole. Like I said, does it happen once in a blue moon? Yeah, but twice in one course? No. Now look at it. This is pretty. I like the planning on either side, and you can have a nice par 3 nestled in a hill up here. Uphill par 3s are underrated and underutilized by designers in this game, so this could be a really good hole, but you can't see it. Okay, the green is looking at it a little severe compared to the other greens. The greens have been very tame. I would tame this down a little. Not a bad idea on a shorter 3 to have a green that's a little more slopey. But you can't see it. So this could be a really good hole, almost a signature hole, if you work on that sculpting in the visual, right? So, and then you got grass right there in front of the green. Bank one off the hill. I don't mind that at all. I think that's kind of cool. Bank one off the hill. So this one's got potential. Needs some work though. Okay. Test 2725. I think I got that right in the intro. All right, now look at this view. So now you're up. You just finished that hole that was kind of nestled in the hill. Now you're way up there, and you can't see the fairway because there's a hill in the way. So, all right, if you're new to quick tips, this is maybe the 100th time I've said this. Show off your work, people. Do not have stuff blocking your view like this hill. That's not necessary. There's zero reason for it. Now, is it necessary for the last hole? I don't think so, because the other hole's over there, right? So there's really no need for something this high blocking your view. None. It doesn't add strategy to the hole. It doesn't add the visual. It actually ruins the visual. So always have a reason. Get rid of the stuff that's in your way and show off your work. I've said it on Quick Tips probably 100 times. Just about every new designer makes this mistake. I made it, and I still make it occasionally. And I catch it usually when I test the course. But there's zero. Look what a pretty shot this could be. You've got the beach off to the left. I'm pointing like you can see me. You got the beach off to the left. You've got the view. You got the view of the whole course over here. You know, a little bit of a hill off to your right is fine, but you can't see the fairway. It would be a stunning visual, okay? All right. So all you designers listening out there, just show off your work. Don't have unnecessary hills in your way. The strategery here, the strategy of this course. Again, you've had this already. We've seen this once. You don't want to go to the well too often. Again, you want a small center line bunker or two and plenty of room on either side to force the decision. I don't know about this one. Again, you've got a 3-wood option here. I don't know how much of a 3-wood option is with the 70 feet downhill. The wind's in our face, so it might work. So you want the strategery, but you know this would be this is almost like a bottle concept if you want to think about a bottle. If anybody doesn't know what a bottle is, look it up. It's where you have a kind of a 3-wood option with the better angle and a driver option that's more risky. So I'm not going to risk it, but this hole's got potential to be visually stunning. I would work on the strategy a little. Again, this could be another really cool hole. And again, it's a par 5. So you always want to be careful of taking driver out of, let me just think about the shot. Driver out of the hands of the player on a par 5, because you quite often want that second shot into the green to be the highlight of the hole, the fun of the hole. And people get, that doesn't mean you can't have a 3-shot hole. You should have a 3-shot hole somewhere in the mix, or somewhere in the design if you're doing a lot of different courses. Let me get, hey, at least tweeners drive me crazy. But there are a lot of shots where I want them to hit the fairway because I want them to have that second shot in, right? That doesn't mean you make a 60-yard wide fairway or whatever, but you don't want it where, somebody just says, nope, I'm not even thinking driver. All right. Rounding out the front 9. All right, so this is a pretty decent visual so far. Again, you can kind of see everything. The fairway presents okay. Again, the sculpting here is just not smooth. It's lumpy mashed potatoes. You don't want them perfectly smooth like instant potatoes, but you want some texture and lumps in them, right? These bunkers, again, need some sculpting. Always sculpt your bunkers and around your bunkers. Don't just throw a bunker in there. That doesn't make any sense like that, right? Sculpt around it. You can throw those bunker walls in there, even if it's just the walls on this side, right? And then you kind of have a flat entrance up front. Use the designer's tools to your advantage, all right? It's not a ton of strategy here. Again, lumpy, and now I have a blind shot in, right? The fairway's blocking the shot in, the hills, whatever. The green's okay. I like this idea. I'm not sure why the green juts out this way so far. You can kind of maybe cut it off and then smooth that a little, give it a little less area. Maybe it's you want that so I can land, player can land it here. This maybe should be a pot bunker, right? Because be consistent, because you're gonna, if you're doing your bunkers, you can vary it up a little bit. But if you've got this kind of course and you're doing pot bunkers around the green, do pot bunkers. Do you have to have every one of them be in? No. So again, spline. See how that spline goes in kind of at an angle, diagonally? Get in. Plenty of opportunity to plant on these hills around the greens, and the grass is floating there behind me, behind the green, I should say. So you really got to work on your planting, folks. It's hard with these courses because there's a lot of grass and since there are no trees, you've got to cover a lot of ground with the grasses. That takes a lot of time. So that's pretty. I like that behind you. Look at that BT. So there's a good BT. Got something, a little rock going there in the water. Again, you can't see much here, right? Things are blocking your view a little. You could definitely lower those or raise this or both. Okay. And then it's almost looks like the start of a cape hole. This could be a cape hole. If anybody doesn't know what a cape hole is, kind of curved around water. Think of Bay Hill. The Bay Hill Classic you see every March on TV. The Arnold Palmer kind of annual event. And I don't know what's going on with this beach. I mean, you don't ever see a beach like that. That doesn't make any sense. It's kind of defying the laws of physics. So you would smooth that. I think what you could do is you could have the beach down below, smooth it out, and have a little cliff there. But again, you probably need a little bit more curve into this to make it a little bit more capey. So this is a good beginnings of a cape hole, but needs a lot of work. All right, smooth out the fairways. So you got the fairways up on the hill. Like, can you get a mower on? Can you get a mower on it? One of the first lessons I ever learned in golf course design. I'll try to put a visual up in an arrow instead of moving the camera around. Was a video I saw by, oh gosh, I can't even think of his name now. And folks were very new to the designer in those days. And this is TGC, the Golf Club 2 was the name of the game at that point. And people were designing a TGC 1. It's, can you get a mower on it? Right. So you got fairway or light rough cut where you're really not going to get a rider mower on it. Um, think twice. Get over. Gotta think of that guy's name. So that's sad I can't think of his name. Do, 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 do. All right, so we can see this. This one presents a little bit better. You've got a lot of tee box in the way here, so that's always the challenge with these tee boxes. You can always separate the tee boxes, or like our friend Ivy Mike says, Ivy Mike is a long time helper, member, administrator of Casuals Golf Club, and he doesn't design much, but he plays. He's quite a player, plays a lot, and says, "You designers, you should put the tee boxes at different angles more often." So he's right. He's absolutely right. There's an opportunity in a lot of holes to change the angles between the tee boxes to give the hole a different look and feel. And I don't do that enough, that's for sure. But this could be a potential hole where you can do that. So I like the placement of the bunkers here. Again, I would make that a pot bunker. I don't know why you didn't. I would probably go with one bunker there in that curve, one bunker there, and then I like a bunker here. So this is almost Eden-esque, even though it's a short kind of hole. A little flat for such a short hole. Fairly sizable green for short holes. A couple of options here. You can make it shorter. I'm sorry, you can make the green smaller. You can make the green a little bit more challenging. Make it a unique shape. Again, this could be a pretty little hole. You got floating grass there in the background. Don't float your grass, people. All right, let's see. Another par 5. Again, the visual is a little lumpy, right? So again, sculpting, just smooth these lumps. It's too lumpy bumpy for my tastes. And again, you're going to run out of fairway, and now you've got the same thing where you got to split in the fairway about 300 yards. You've done this once before. So you can't keep, you can't kind of repeat yourself. You can sometimes. And then the sculpting here, a little severe, so always think about that sculpting around the water. Make it smooth, natural, make it flow. Even this, I don't know what I'm going to do, so I'm just throwing that down there. Okay. This is a par 5, so even, you'd have to make it to even have a prayer. That's a pretty long way. So it's kind of a 3-shot hole. 3-shot hole, you want some sort of decision on your layup. There isn't much here other than you just don't want to go to the end. You want to get it maybe in a spot for your wedge, or, you should have, what I do on a 3-shot hole or a longer hole where somebody's more likely to lay up is have an ideal spot to lay up and have it like flat, right? Have a nice flat, I want to lay up to this little spot. It might be subtle and you might not notice it, but then have a little bit of a challenge. Have it just over a bunker or just in front of a bunker. Do something, right, to make the layup a little bit more interesting. So yes, you will notice that on my designs. On most par 5s that are a little longer, somewhere there's probably a nice little spot to lay up to. Can I promise you that always? Nah. 14. All right, we got a little valley here we're hitting through. It's a good idea, a good visual. I'm not sure what's going on in that bunker, but I think I know. Again, you can have this here. It's blocking the view a little bit. I'm not sure why you want that. I like the kind of hitting through the valley look, but again, you're ruining the view over here. So which do you think looks better? This kind of tunnel vision thing, or having a clear view of, you'd have that view of the next hole down there. So I don't know if I'd keep that there. You could put maybe something up. Well, you've got the other hole here. So, I don't know. It's a choice. You can go either way. I think you can make it look really cool. Almost have the fairway be like a platform. You can have a little bit of a hill over here, but then have this be a cliff over here, and have this fairway presents really cool. Or you can kind of keep the tunnel vision thing, which is cool. Anyway, I think this looks like it could be the beginnings of double plateau. And I'll explain briefly what that is. The double plateau is another template hole. Very CB McDonald-ish, made it famous. Usually they are long par fours and one of the toughest holes to par on a course. This is about 360. It's a little short. Characteristics are principal's nose bunker in front of the green, about 60 yards, which I think that is. Usually it's kind of flat. I'm not sure why it's that elevated in the middle. And then I'll talk about the green after I hit the tee shot. I got 8 miles an hour in my face. I could have hit driver. I don't know what I was doing that for. Not thinking, I'm talking. So the double plateau, if you don't know, has two plateaus. Obviously, it's usually kind of more of an L shape where there's like this section is elevated, this section back here would be elevated, and the kind of middle of it, the L, is a little bit lower than the two platforms. So there's two platforms in a lower section. Usually, kind of the middle section that where it forms the angle is the lower section. Not always. You can do whatever you want with it. You can, interpret that in many different ways and have fun with it. But that's kind of that is what a double plateau is. I think that's the beginning of what we were trying to do here. If not, this could be made into one pretty quickly. And obviously, the whole point is each plateau is almost like a small little green, right? If you don't hit it, it's going to roll off or whatever. So you could have a big green, but with 3 sections that are a little harder to hit, and then you got to play with the angles and all that stuff. So that's the idea there. All right. So 14. All right. Interesting. Another kind of medium, shortish par 4 where tee shot is blocked by these. If you're gonna put those bunkers in the fairway, I like this look of having them with the kind of pot bunkering and planting. It looks better that way. Maybe you just haven't gotten to them. Not a bad idea. Again, here it's, what are you doing? You're just kind of taking the driver out of the guy's hand. So on the strategy on this one. Like I said, if you have center line bunkers, usually you want a right-left option, not a go, no-go. You can do it with a go, no-go. But I don't see a whole lot of left-right options. I see go, no-goes with a lot of these holes. And the greens are pretty tame. Not surprising for someone who helps run Casual's golf club, because we keep the courses, like I said, pretty tame, especially around the greens. Oh, almost. All right. So, let's see. Again, we're kind of blind tee shot. Not really blind, but blocked, right? Blocked tee shot. There's tee box and hills in front of us. Again, this is a good example. I see this on quick tips all the time. There's no reason. Flatten this stuff out, people. Flatten it and lower it, right? Think about it. Why would you ever really walk off a tee box and go up and down a hill like this? No, it's usually kind of a smooth curve. Straight down or straight back up the hill, right? So just think about what you see out there in real life and try to emulate it. Now we're blocked. Now we're blocked with some pretty plantings. I like that idea. You can work it out a little. Put some grasses, maybe a few less bushes, and make it a little bit more varied. Look really pretty. But again, block tee shot. Especially with the wind at back, you got to go 3-wood. Blind. Now here, I don't mind this. If you've got something like this and you're going to wind up with a blind tee shot, an idea is to maybe make that only go halfway through the fairway. Again, now it's a par 5, right? So now you're blocking driver on a par 5 again. Might not get there. I'm going to give it a ride. See what I can do. I'm going to pull it into the bushes. Awesome. So you always kind of want to be careful on the par 5s. Think about that tee shot. Think about the fact that you want the player to have that second shot in more often than not. challenge should be on that second or third, the second shot or the layup or into the green more than the tee shot. Doesn't mean you can't have a challenging tee shot on a par 5. I'm not saying that. All right. Almost drivable 4. Not bad. Again, a little lumpy on the sculpting here. Smallish bunker doesn't quite fit that opening there. You can make that a little bit more dramatic. Maybe a bigger bunker along that side. But I'm just going to kind of go for it. This could be a good visual if we worked on the sculpting a little bit. All right. Let's see. For a birdie, get me 1 under par. And he pushed it. All right. So let's hit the second to last hole. Again, work on the BTs a little, everybody. Now, this could be pretty. This could be good. This is a par 3. This presents well. Now, think of the other par 3 that we looked at, which you couldn't. There are 2 of them where you had no visuals. This presents pretty well. You still could maybe lower that hill in between the tee boxes and the fairway. You can see the bunkers. They're presenting pretty well, and you've got the green up there as kind of a platform, right? So this looks pretty good. The bunkers look good. I'm not quite sure the placement. You might want this bunker up here a little more or something up there. Again, fix your splines, people. This is just up here and not in the curve. Again, and it's going into this. I don't know if that's intentional, but usually you're going to see that those curves and those splines and everything don't quite go into the bunkers if they're in the rough. Pick one. I like this bunker. I like this shape. I like this shape. But again, you're kind of cutting into the fairway. But this has got potential. That is a nice visual, okay? We're getting there with that type of hole. Much better that way, right? Now I'm going to whiff. Going to have to hit a little flop. And sit. Nope. Oh, not very good for a flop. All right. And he takes the bogue. I was looking at 1 under a few minutes ago, now 1 over. Yuck. All right, how are we going to finish this? All right, so back to these hills on the right. These things got to go. They don't look good at all, my friend. Just folks, if you're a designer, you got to kind of make it blend with the rest of. I know it's hard because there's a lot of space out there you got to take up, and you've got only so much meter. But hills don't take any meter, which is fine. These just don't look natural. So smooth them out. Figure a way to get some trees around the perimeter. You can do it. I've done it. It gets hard with these courses because there's so much meter taken with the bushes and the grasses, etc. Technique that you use. I say don't auto-generate anything, but now what you can do is auto-generate trees around the perimeter, and then take the brushes and remove the any auto-gen trees around the course. We can do that at a macro level, and that is a cheap way, so to speak, of getting trees in the course without taking up your meter. So you can do that. So use the auto-gen trees around the perimeter if you can. So there's a technique as well. So do some hills and get some trees in there and make it look realistic and natural, because that just looks computer generated, right? All right, so it's a good big bunkers here. That might be a little big, but all right, you got those bunkers fitting in the curves. That's more like it. So general comments, sculpting around the bunkers, visuals, line of sight. Again, there's another big hill. You can't see anything, which, that sometimes does happen. Some of these bunkers look really good. Like that's fitting around the curve. I like that. I like that. These are pretty good, right? Let's see. Let's talk about that hill on the side. These look good, but I don't know that you really need those there because you've got this hill over here. You could use this. In other words, I might say get rid of these bunkers and make this hill come up in a cliff closer to the green. Put it in play, right? Um, that way, you know, your close shot might trickle down, down. And then you can decide whether you need to make that out of bounds or if somebody can hit a shot up there. That's not that far that they wouldn't be able to hit a recovery shot, I don't think. So you might want to toy with that idea. The other thing is, let me show you. I have a feeling, yeah, I'm going to hit a bad shot on purpose. Watch this. All right, that went too far. Again, I'm hitting another bad shot on purpose. You'll see why in a second. You got a good visual here that's blocked by the hill. Okay, I'm gonna go over here. See what I mean? That little hill, you can't. That's blocking a pretty view. This is 18. You want that kind of stunning view on 18, right? Get rid of it. Look at that. You can see there's no reason for it. Elevate that green a little and get rid of that hill. Put a little kind of cliff there. It enhances the strategy. And then you can see, look at that. You can see the whole course stepping down, stepping down, stepping down. So the general slope of this is pretty good. You've got everything moving down to the water gradually. So that looks pretty cool. I would take advantage of that and have that beautiful finishing visual. Otherwise, it's blocking your view for no good reason, really. So you could have a stunning visual and add a little strategery in there. So think of these things when you're designing your courses, folks. All right. So you don't have to do what I say necessarily. It's just I'm here to give you ideas and help you be more of a success as a designer. So there it is. Speaking of success, I want to add one thing. But ERASERGIB with his newest design, ERASERGIB 102725 right now is the latest version. Out there, but he's coming a long way. Hope you're coming a long way too. If you haven't, I wanted to get this in earlier. Please check out my real life podcast, Your Customer, Your Success. It's below. Okay, I have links to my real life podcast. There's YouTube videos. There's also audio available on any major podcast platform. It's a real life business video. It's legit. I have great guests talking about the world of customer experience, customer success, applicable to any business. I have links to the YouTube page on this YouTube page for the golf down below. So please check that out and let me know what you think. I'd love to see you over there or hear you over there. More on that in the next video. So I hope to do more of these videos real soon. That's all for today. Bye for now.